All right, I think we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another webinar from AMC Banking. My name is Fredrik Larsen. Work as a sales advisor here from AMC Banking. And well, I have some really cool functions to show you today. Last time we spoke, we talked about these cash forecasting functions and how you could use AMC Banking to forecast your bank balance. If you hadn't had a chance to see that yet, it's available on our website, and I recommend, of course, checking it out. The topic for today is, well, kind of similar, although also different. It is, of course, our new cash pool functionality. And let's, well, what you can say is that it has sort of the same values in the sense that it increases transparency, and it's deeply rooted in these treasury functions like our cash forecasting was, but it works a little bit differently. So let's start by looking at the quick slide here, seeing what is the actual function that we have developed. So our new cash pool functionality, it enables you to, oh, 1 second. Like this here. Yeah, it enables you to easily convert all your bank accounts into a cash pool. What does that actually means? It means that you can share your cash pool accounts across all your legal entities, meaning you can create payments on behalf of these cash pool accounts. So you can create a cash pool for one of your bank accounts, share or create these virtual cash pool accounts across your legal entities, and create payments from them. So what that means is that you can use a main account, an actual bank account from another legal entity, while still keeping full control of the different balances that you have in the system. And that also means that you can post incoming transactions to these cash pool accounts. So if you receive an incoming payment to your main account, well, AMC Banking, we can automatically figure out that this belongs to a cash pool account and post the differences to there. And with this functionality as well, you'll be able to create and maintain these loans. And that includes things like automatically calculating the interests on loans between the accounts, and create these dynamic interests based on both calendars and amounts. It's a slightly complicated topic, but I'll do my best to explain, and hopefully it'll all make sense once we're finished. So let me open up a finance and operations here. This is the new, oh, let that go. There we go. There. So this is the newest version of AMC Banking. It was released here in the end of May. It's called 9.3. And if there's anything that I show you here in this webinar that you don't see, well, you'll need to update to the newest version. What we've done is we've introduced a few new menu points. We have our new cash pool menu point that is used for seeing an overview and creating new cash pools for your accounts. We have your loans for viewing existing loans and maintaining and seeing an overview here. We have a new periodic task, which is to basically, it should run in the background. I'll tell you more about exactly what it does at a later point, but it will post and automatically update the balances across all these different legal entities. And then we have some setup as well, that is for interest rates and interest calendars. So I thought about the easiest way to really grasp this functionality, and I think it is with an actual use case. So a simple use case could be, here in my finance and operations, I have a few different legal entities. The one I'm in right now is Contoso Germany, whereas I have also another company called Contoso US. Now, the US company, it operates mainly in United States. And this is where it has, most of its daily operations, but they do have a few suppliers in Europe, and they also have some customers in Europe as well that expect to pay with euro. Now, the actual volume isn't really high. So that means, when they look at it, it doesn't really make sense to maybe create a new bank account in euro, or even create new bank integrations in euro, because the volume just isn't really high enough. So what they do instead is that they reach out to Contoso Germany here, and they say, well, is there any way we can borrow your bank account when we're making these types of payments? And Contoso Germany have, of course, just seen a nice webinar from AMC Banking and knows exactly what to do. Well, they want to create a cash pool with their bank account so that Contoso US can use that freely. And then we can look into how we would go about setting that up. This is just one simple use case where a US legal entity wants to use the European ones. But again, this can go very, very complex and be set up as actual shared service centers with cash pools all over the world. Now, Contoso Germany would, of course, go to their new cash pool section here. Now, I've cheated a little bit, not a lot. I've just filled out a name for a cash pool, selected my own bank account, my operations account, and I've set an intercompany account. And this intercompany account, this is where things are posted between the virtual bank account that will be created and the actual bank account that I have here in my operations. And of course, what they're going to do is that they're going to create a new cash pool account for the US entity. So they press the create button here, and we say, all right, well, dear US company, let me create a quick bank account for you. Just this one. Let's call it US cash pool. All right. So what actually just happened, right? I created an actual bank account in my US company. But of course, it's a little different. It's not a standard bank account. If anyone uses this to create a payment, the actual bank account that gets used is, of course, the main one. But we can still make sure that we track the balance and the interests and whenever it needs to be done on this cash pool account here. Now, how to proceed next, it depends a little bit on the agreement that I've made with my US company. Now, the standard, or let's say the easiest way to move forward is to say, all right, well, we're not actually going to allocate you anything yet. You're free to use this bank account. That is our bank account. However, we're going to charge you some interest in case your balance becomes negative. And we can maybe also set up a surplus interest if your balance become positive. So here we have a few different methods. First of all is an interest method. We have a simple or a compounded way of calculating interests. What you should know is that interests are calculated daily, but they're posted monthly on the first of every month. And basically, if I use a simple method, then the interest calculation will always just use the remaining balance or the current balance of that day to calculate the interest. Whereas if I use the compounded one, well, it will also use all the daily interest fluctuations or interest calculations and increase as the month go by. We also have some options for, basically how many days per year. So that could be either the actual days per year, or a more simple approach where there's just 30 days in each month, and the interests are calculated based on that. All right. So I haven't actually allocated any money to it. The remaining balance is 0, but they are actually free to use this bank account based on the setup. But what I can do is I can set up an overdraft interest, saying, well, all right, but if you use any of the cash here, that's fine, you're free to do so, but we'll charge you an interest on the amounts going out. Of course, we can also say, all right, we can also give you a surplus interest if you end up receiving more money into our account than what you're actually spending. All right, so the actual interest setup is set up under our interest rates. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time going into details here because it's actually really well described in our user guide, which is part of the AMC banking package. Just to show you real quick how you could create one, just remove this and add a new one, is that it can be based either on amounts, and it can of course be tiered. So meaning I can say, well, if I have from 0 to, what's that, 100,000, we'll charge you 1%. Whereas if it's from 100,000 or more, we'll charge you 2%. Fairly simple. Another thing I can do is I can add a calendar in case I have fluctuations in my interests during the year or based on the different months. I can go into my interest calendar and I can create a different interest percentage based on the date. I'd say all of these interest views here, they're all based on, or they have to it data entities, meaning it's very easy to import these from external systems or something. But the setup I have here is, well, from January, we charge 1% until March, then we charge 1.5%, June 2%, September back to 1.5%, just as an example. And the way our interest rates work in here is that if I add both an amount on, or sorry, a percentage on the amount based, and I add a calendar, then we add these two together. So that means in January, where it was 1% in my calendar here, together with the amount here, that would equal 2% as the interest that actually gets charged. So again, I know this is this is a lot, but it's really, really well described with examples in our user guide. So when setting this up, I would recommend turning to there. Okay, so back to our cash pools here. Let me just say that, all right, for this US customer, this bank account we've created, all right, fair enough. If they ever go over, I'll charge them an overdraft interest, and in the surplus, a surplus interest. I don't know about you. In my personal bank, there's a very big difference between these two. If I go in a negative amount, they charge quite a high interest, but I don't get a lot on the amounts I have funded. How you want to add it is, of course, completely configurable and up to you. Good. Now, what we can right now, as mentioned, this bank account, I mean, there isn't really any rules set up as to how much they can spend or anything. They kind of just have free game. But what we can also do is we can allocate some cash to them. And we can say, all right, we'll set aside a fixed amount, and then you can use this on our bank account. This would belong to you now. We hold it, but it's actually your money. So we can either allocate just means, all right, we set aside some money. This is now yours. It's transferred to your subledger in its sense, or we can issue a loan. And of course, when we issue a loan, this is a little different from the overdraft surplus interest. Instead, it's just a standard loan terms, meaning we say, all right, we'll loan you, let's do it again, 100,000. We'll use our simple fixed 4% interest like that. And we also have the same options here. again, how many days are there per year? Should it be the simple approach with 30 days in each month, or the actual approach? And the interest method as well. All right. So what I'm doing now is I'm loaning some money to my US company. Now, there's no actual transactions taking place in the bank. It's all accounting purposes. I'm removing money from my balance on my main bank account over to your, let's call it a virtual account here. And this is your balance. This is what you're free to use, of course. And again, we can have rules for overdraft if you use more or surplus. Great. Now, this was fairly simple to set up, as you can see. Let's try to see what our US company would actually be able to use this, this bank account for. Let's change companies, USMF here. Whoops. First of all, we've actually created a real bank account, right? This one here, using Deutsche Bank, the bank that I use in my German company, has been created. That means that my US subsidiary here can actually go into a payment journal, just like any other. We can see they use JP Morgan Chase, but what they can do instead is say, all right, well, now I want to create a payment from Deutsche. I now have access to accounts from Deutsche. I can pay out from them, and I can pay my European vendors through there. Let's call this cash pool demo. Here we go. Open up, and let's add our vendor payments. And in this scenario here, I mean, it would make sense that the actual invoices that we pay from this new bank account would be our euro payments. And we have one here, best supplier Europe. We have a vendor invoice of 5,000 euros. And the beauty of this is, of course, I mean, were I to pay this from my US JP Morgan account, this would be an international wire transfer from a US dollar account that would take, you know, these currency exchange fees and conversion rates and all these things. But no, not now. I'm paying this payment locally from Germany to Germany, I think, at least inside the Eurozone, as a SEPA credit transfer, as a local, fast and cheap payment type. And of course, just like any other payment I would make, great, I validate it, I approve it. Let's go here. Let's get this sent through. Easy as that. I have now created a payment file, sent a payment through as a local SEPA credit transfer from my US company using the actual cash pool from my German company. Good. So let's talk a little bit about what will actually happen now. Because from the bank's point of view, the ones who actually made this payment was the main account, right? The German operations account. So what will happen, just copy this, whoops, not too long from now, is that, well, this payment will go through inside the bank and will import a bank statement into our finance and operations here. And as you all know, the ones that are using AMC Banking today at least, that data will come into your posting journals. And let's see how it would look there. Let me just run the automatch again. There. Good. So it will come into our posting journal. And this is just the standard transactions from my operations accounts in Germany, right? So there can be different types of payment. There was something I made from my German account, something else, a vendor I paid. There was what looks to be a bank fee here. And then down here, we have an actual payment on our German account. But as we can see, it looks like all the others, but it's actually posted or settled towards the payment that we have over in the US with the same amount, with everything. Now, that means that there's full control from our view. We know very well that this payment here wasn't just a standard payment made from our operations account, but instead was actually created from the cash pool account that we have in the US. Now, there are a few different things that needs to happen now. The first is, well, I need to post my payments. That's fair enough. That's what I would do no matter what. So I post these payments, and this means it actually gets posted to my operations accounts in Germany, right? Because I need to be able to reconcile my bank account. I need to be able to say, well, this is what actually happened on this bank account. The transaction of 5,000 euro, well, it's on my bank statement. It needs to be posted on my bank account so I can reconcile these together. So right now, nothing has actually happened when it comes to the cash pool accounts. But what will happen next is that this little job here runs under periodic task. It's called post cash pool transactions. Now, this here looks at your bank account and it says, well, were any of these cash pool transactions? And therefore, should we update the different balances on the different bank accounts so they are correct into what has happened? So running this. Just try this again. I think it's because I changed the name of the cash pool here. Yeah, so running this job does a few different things. One, bank account says, was any of these cash pool transactions, and thus should they be posted out on the different virtual bank accounts that we have around. Another thing it does is things like interest calculations and things like that to make sure that everything is in order. So having posted this, the balance that we've used on our bank account would now change. So we can see that an amount has been used together with some different interest calculations. We can also, of course, receive incoming transactions on our main bank account. So basically, from the US point of view, we can say to our European customers, please just, when you pay this invoice, just pay them into our to the operations account, so the one that actually exists in Germany. Because as long as the automatic matching of AMC figures out that, oh, well, that payment we just received here, 4,000 euros, actually belong to Contoso Europe, or sorry, to our US company, then when we post this, we will also automatically update the balance of the virtual bank account. So that means both incoming transactions, outgoing transactions, all of these can be, as long as it belongs to USMF, it will belong to a cash pool account or a virtual account. And therefore, we can update these balances on the go. So very, very simply put, I mean, this was a use case where I helped my US subsidiary to actually to actually create these local payment types and also receive payments locally, which I would imagine is a real nice value for their customers, that they don't need to pay international payments to the US whenever they need to pay an invoice. And we can still have full control all over about what is the balance of this virtual account, even if you have multiple, because we deliver all of this extra logic and runs that make sure that everything fits together. One more thing to show you quickly is the loans here. just to see, well, it's possible when creating these loans, and this is kind of our first iteration. So far, loans works with the cash pool functionality, but we also want in the next release to add loans just between legal entities, because we have the whole foundation now with this cash pool functionality, meaning we can both issue loans and repay loans and all these things that is needed. So this is some really exciting new functionality from AMC, the ability to create these cash pools and use them all across. Now, one thing that would mean a lot to me, if you do decide to actually use this and set this up, I would really like to hear about it or see it, and help you talk about what values it might bring, because we're bringing these things into the standard module of AMC banking, and we will well, we'd like to hear from you if you actually start to use this. All right, you're welcome to jump in with any questions if you have them. Perfect. All right. Well, the video here will be, of course, available on our website. And notice in the latest release notes, there's really in-depth documentation about how this is set up with interests and with everything. And of course, if you have any issues with it, always feel free to reach out to our support, or otherwise, again, I'll be happy. I really like to see if you get some value from this functionality, and that you can use this in your day-to-day. Perfect. All right. Well, always a pleasure. Good to see you all again. Thank you for joining.